Nowhere else. It began with our president, who, and I get that he doesn't want to lose the ability to advance his agenda. That's totally politics. What is different here is mid-decade redistricting at the request of an authoritarian president. And what is different here is that state legislatures run by Republicans across the country are bowing to that request. It is wrong, and you know it. You all know it. So again, I say to blame this on California or Massachusetts or Illinois or anything else is a fiction, and everybody in this room knows it, and anybody who continues to say that it's the blue states that are responsible for what is happening here simply looks foolish. You know it's not true.
Senator Everett, for what purpose do you rise?
Speak on the bill.
You have the floor to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Madam President. Two quick things. The amendment yesterday to draw a different map was not more fair to the Democrats. It was more fair to the people of North Carolina. It was more representative of the people of North Carolina. That is who it was more fair to. And the second issue is no one suggested yesterday that Senator Heiss was being offered anything for these maps. No one made that suggestion. We know where the offer was made.
Senator Chaudhary, for what purpose do you rise?
Speak on the bill.
You have the floor to speak on the bill.
I'll be very brief, Madam President. I just want to use Massachusetts as an example that was cited by Senator Heiss. A couple of differences to point out in the process. Number one is, yes, Senator Heiss is correct that Democrats did approve the bill, but number one, the maps that were drawn in Massachusetts were not deemed partisan. Number two, a majority of Republicans voted for that map. And lastly, Madam President, it was a Republican governor that signed that congressional redistricting map into law.
Senator Smith, for what purpose do you rise?
I would like to speak to this bill.
You have the floor to speak to the bill.
Thank you so much. I first want to go back and repeat some things that I remember my peer Senator Applewhite saying, because when we were in the Elections Committee, all we continued to hear was, I drew the map, I drew the map, I drew the map. Now I'm hearing we drew the map, and I don't know who the we is because the Democrats were not included. I'm looking at what we're talking about now and going off of what other states are doing, and they set a precedent where they also set a precedent to pass a budget that it doesn't look like we're willing to do. We're spending so much time now, we want to follow our peers. Let's pass a budget. We have people who are hurting. And these people are people that you represent, unless you don't care. When we go back to talking about we're not using anything racial, we're just going to move black people, but it's not racial. We're going to go to the black belt and make all of these suggestions to get a map. We could have made moves any other place, but we specifically chose that section in eastern North Carolina. Oh, it just so happened to be that was the black belt, but it's nothing racial. So we can change words, we can talk around words, we can move them around and say all those things. People know the truth. They know what's happening right here. It is their job to elect us and not our job to feel like who we want to represent. So I encourage all of us to make sure that we continue to vote no on this. I know some of you are feeling pressure because you're often put on the line about how you can vote. I'm glad I don't have anybody who has to tell me what I have to do. Thank you.
Is there further discussion or debate? Senator Garrett, for what purpose do you rise?
To send forward an amendment.
Set forth your amendment. The clerk will read.
Senator Garrett moves to amend the bill.
Senator Garrett is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this is a pretty straightforward and simple amendment that would put before the voters a constitutional amendment to establish a nonpartisan redistricting commission, giving the people the voice and the ability to choose their elected representatives, not the other way around. I encourage your support.
Senator Heiss, for what purpose do you rise?
To move that Amendment 6 do lie upon the table.
Second.
Senator Heiss moves that amendment number 6 do lay upon the table, seconded by Senator Daniel. This is a non-debatable motion. The question before the body is the motion to lay amendment number 6 to Senate Bill 249 on the table. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. 5 seconds will be allowed for voting, and the clerk will record the vote. Senator Chaudhary, no. 26 having voted in the affirmative, 20 in the negative. Amendment number 6 will lay upon the table, and we are back on the bill. Senator Garrett, for what purpose do you rise?
To speak to the bill, Madam
You have the
President.
floor to speak to the bill.
Thank you. Madam President, members of this body, to the people of North Carolina, I stand before you today at a crossroads in American history. Not the kind you read about later, sanitized in textbooks with neat conclusions, but the raw, uncertain kind. The kind where the choices we make in this chamber on this day will echo through generations yet unborn. This past weekend, something extraordinary happened across our country. While we prepared to debate redistricting behind these walls, millions of Americans from New York City to Bryson City right here in North Carolina, from major capitals to small towns with populations in the hundreds, took to the streets. More than 2,500 communities, possibly the largest single-day protest in American history. Millions of voices, but one message that has thundered through American history since 1776. America has no kings. They marched peacefully, grandmothers and college students, veterans and teachers, people who had never protested before, standing shoulder to shoulder with those who've marched for decades. They weren't there because they hate America. They were there because they love her. Today in this chamber and with this vote, we're being asked to betray them. Let me tell you where we stand in the eyes of history. There are moments that define nations, moments when the soul of a country is tested, when everything that came before, every sacrifice, every principle, every promise hangs in the balance. This is one of those moments. Future historians will look back at 2025 and ask, when democracy was openly under assault, when a president demanded states rig their elections, when millions took to the streets, begging their leaders to protect their rights, what did those in power do? Did they stand with the people, or did they stand with the powerful? Do they honor the sacrifices of those who came before, or did they auction off democracy to the highest bidder? Did they keep the promise, or did they break the faith with every generation that bled for this republic? We are living through a stress test of American democracy. Madam President, I fear that we are failing it. Let's go back to Philadelphia, 1787. Our founders, imperfect men, yet visionaries, didn't write, "We the people," in order to form a perfect union. They couldn't. They knew they hadn't created perfection. They had just fought a war to escape a king. And here they were, some of them still holding human beings in bondage. They knew the contradiction, and they felt its weight. So they made a promise, not a guarantee. Not a completed work, a promise to form a more perfect union. More perfect than yesterday, more perfect than the generation before, more democratic than the one we inherited. That promise, that sacred covenant, is the thread that binds every generation of Americans to the next. That generational promise is what makes America, America. It's not our geography. It's not our wealth. It's the solemn vow that each generation makes to the next. We will leave you in America closer to its ideals than the one we inherited. My parents made that promise to me. Their parents made it to them. And I made that promise to my children, that I would fight to give them a country where their voices matter, where their votes count, where democracy isn't just a word we teach in civics class, but a living, breathing reality they experience every day. And that promise has been paid for in blood. Think about Nathan Hale, just 21 years old, standing on the gallows with a noose around his neck. His last words echoing across history. And I quote, "I only regret that I have one life to lose for my country." He died so that America could be born without a king. Think about the thousands who froze and starved at Valley Forge, men who wrapped their bleeding feet in rags, who ate bark from trees, who watched their friends die of disease and exposure. They could have gone home. They could have surrendered, but they stayed and they suffered. Many of them died because they believed in the promise. Think about Susan B. Anthony, arrested and fined for daring to vote. Think about the suffragists who died before seeing the 19th Amendment passed, who kept fighting for a victory they would never see. The promise wasn't about them. It was about the next generation. Think about Congressman John Lewis, good trouble John Lewis, beaten nearly to death on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. His skull fractured, blood pouring down his face, and still he got up. Still he marched. Still he fought for decades, until the very end, because he understood something profound. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires sacrifice. It demands courage, and it never, ever comes free. Every single one of them kept that promise, even when it might have, or did, cost them everything. And now we stand here in our comfortable suits, in our air-conditioned chamber, and we're being asked, will you honor that promise, or will you spit on their graves? Because make no mistake, that is what today is about. This is about whether we believe in the principle that those millions of Americans stood for this past weekend. That in America, the people choose their leaders, not the other way around. Democracy isn't a gift that arrived complete and perfect in 1776. It's not a participation trophy we get for just being American. It's not a static thing frozen in time, requiring only our passive acceptance. Democracy is alive. It breathes. It bleeds. It can be wounded. It can be killed. And right now, it is gasping for air. Democracy only lives when duly elected representatives stand for the people, present their visions, make their arguments, and trust the voters to decide. It thrives when we compete for the privilege to serve, when we earn the people's trust through the quality of our ideas and the strength of our character. When we fight in the arena of public opinion, not in the back rooms where maps get carved up. Democracy dies when we politicians rig the game, when we draw lines to choose our voters instead of letting our voters choose us, when we admit, and let's be honest, that's exactly what's happening here today, when we admit that we can't win in fair competition, so we'll just change the rules. When we're so afraid of the people's judgment, we rig the system to avoid it. That's not democracy, folks. That's tyranny with a prettier name. That's authoritarianism in a suit and tie. And that's everything these soldiers, marchers, and freedom fighters died to prevent. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle talk about protecting the president's agenda. Let me ask you something. Since when did America exist to support the president's agenda? I thought government was supposed to serve the people. I thought elected officials were supposed to represent their constituents, not take orders from Washington on how to rig maps. I thought we fought a revolution specifically to establish that no one, not a king, not a president, not anyone, is above the will of the people. The president said he's entitled to more seats. Entitled? That word should chill every American to the bone. No elected official is entitled to anything, except the privilege of earning the people's trust. And if you can't earn it fairly, you don't deserve it at all. We teach our children to compete fairly, to do their homework, to practice harder, to win or lose on merit, to shake hands after the game, win or lose, to respect their opponents, and to honor the rules. So what are we teaching them today? That if the game isn't going your way, you just change the rules? Integrity is optional when power is on the line? What do we say to the kids that marched with their parents this last weekend? The ones holding signs saying, "We bow to no king." The ones who believe, and God bless them, they still believe, that their voices matter, that democracy works, that America keeps its promises. Do we look them in the eye and say, "Sorry, kid, your vote doesn't matter as much as our political power"? This past weekend, millions of Americans in the streets were screaming to be heard. They were saying, "We see what you're doing. We understand that democracy is under attack. We know the difference between legitimate governance and authoritarian power grab. We remember what happened to countries that chose strong men over self-governance. We know how this story ends if we don't stop it. And we refuse. We refuse to be silent while you steal the people's voice." This body needs to listen. America is standing up, not just members of one party, but Americans from every walk of life, from every corner of this nation, who understand that once you allow election rigging to become normalized, once you accept that might makes right and power justifies betrayal, you have crossed a line you can never uncross. You are breaking something that cannot easily be repaired. Those marchers this past weekend, they're the spiritual descendants of every American who ever refused to bow. They are keeping the promise. But will we? Will we honor the sacrifice of every American who ever fought for democracy? Or will we slap them in the face by trading away the very thing they died to protect? When our grandchildren ask us, "What did you do when democracy was dying?" Will we have an answer that lets us sleep at night? This is the moment, this chamber, this day. History doesn't send an engraved invitation letting you know when something important is happening. You don't get a warning label that says democracy's fate hangs in the balance today. You don't get a second chance to make the right choice. You just get moments like this, where regular people in regular places make choices that ripple through time. We are living in one of those moments right now. Historians will write about this vote. Future students will wonder, how could they not see what they were doing? How could they not understand what they were throwing away? I'm here to tell you, what we're doing is wrong. It's a desecration on every grave at Arlington, every memorial at Gettysburg, every name on the Vietnam Wall, every star in the Gold Star Mother's window. But we can still stop. And let me tell you what gives me hope, because I'm going to end on hope. Getting close to the end. You're welcome. Even now, even today, I'm hopeful. And I'm not naive about today's vote. I know how this will end. I know democracy is going to take another bullet in this chamber this morning. The voice of the people will be silenced once again by a pen stroke of politicians who fear them. But here's what keeps me going, what lets me sleep at night, what gets me out of bed in the morning to come back into this chamber and fight again. Because the promise is bigger than any one vote. The covenant is stronger than any one betrayal. The American spirit cannot be killed by a gerrymandered map. Those revolutionaries at Valley Forge lost battles. They froze, they starved, they buried their friends in shallow graves in the snow, but they won the war. John Lewis had his skull fractured on that bridge, but he got up. He marched again. He ran for Congress. He served for 33 years. He fought until his last breath, and he won the war. But here's what authoritarians and would-be kings never understand. You cannot kill an idea whose time has come. Yes, democracy may bleed today. Yes, this body may succeed in rigging these maps. Yes, the party in control might steal a few more seats, and they might hold on to power for a few more years. You can rig the map, but you can't rig the people's determination. You cannot silence our votes, but you can silence our votes, but you cannot silence our voices. You can try to break our democracy, but it will not break our will to restore it. The fight doesn't end today. It doesn't end with this vote. It doesn't end until we restore the promise, until we repair what's been broken, until we leave our children in America worthy of the sacrifices that built it. So I will keep fighting, because the promise is worth keeping. The covenant is worth honoring. Democracy is worth defending. And America, this magnificent, flawed, frustrating, beautiful experiment in self-governance, America is worth fighting for. Even today, especially today, as democracy takes another bullet, I will keep that promise. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to the people of North Carolina. And may God give us the strength to be worthy of our time and the promise that we're entrusted to keep.
Senator Chitlick, for what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to ask Senator Heiss a question, please.
Senator Heiss, do you yield?
Yield.
Yield.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. Thank you, Madam President. So one of the public reasons that you've given about why this bill is so important is saying that North Carolina voted for Donald Trump, and this is what the people want. They want to implement President Trump's agenda. And I agree with you, the people voted for Donald Trump. I'm not here to dispute elections. But if that is in fact true, why, can you help me understand, why is this not an independent redistricting bill if this is the will of the people?
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Madam President, and for the question. Independent districting has never been part of the history of the state of North Carolina. The power given to the state legislature to draw districts, and conversely Congress as well, is given by the U.S. Constitution. I believe it is the requirement of the state legislature to do so, and we have never advocated that power to any type of independent commission, which is, as I said before many times, I think is a fairy tale anyway, and California probably proves that. They create one until they want to do something else, and then they go back to their legislature. So we don't have it and never have.
Senator Chitlick, for what purpose do you rise?
I have a follow-up question for Senator Heiss, please.
Do you yield, Senator Heiss?
I yield.
Yield.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. I understand that that might be without historical precedent. So I have a follow-up question to this. Help me understand, if North Carolina voted for, say, it was about 53% for President Trump, maybe we can be generous, maybe it was 54 on a really good day. So help me understand why, if 54% of North Carolinians voted for President Trump, why this body believes that, or excuse me, why you, because I know you are the person who drew the map, so why you think that that is a mandate that 79% of our seats should go to Republicans. Help me understand that part.
As I have said multiple occasions, and again earlier today, when other states across the country are maximizing and increasing their MAP proportions for Democrats, it is incumbent upon us not to stand still and allow them to be successful, but we must also maximize our maps in the state of North Carolina to make sure we preserve the balance of power for Congress.
Senator Chitlick, for what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to, a moment of personal privilege to speak to the bill for the young people in the audience.
You may speak to the bill.
Thank you. I've noticed that while we were debating this bill, we had this wonderful group of, it looks like high school students come in, and so welcome, thank you. You've chosen middle school? Wow, okay, y'all look fabulous. So I just want to, I just want to contextualize for you what's happening. I'm sure your incredible teachers have had an opportunity to brief you on the redistricting that's happening today. What you're seeing is not democracy. It's a fallacy of democracy. We're all actors, right, in this game around being able to talk about the power that's happening.
Madam President,
Senator Berger, for what purpose do you rise?
I believe Senator Chitlick, under our rules, has the floor to debate the bill, not to speak to an audience.
Yes, that's correct. Senator Chitlick, please.
Sure, I'll debate the merits of the bill. I just want to do a quick summary of where we are. So we had debate yesterday, we had debate today.
Madam President,
Yeah, Senator
again,
Berger.
it is pursuant to the rules appropriate to debate the bill. It is not appropriate to speak to an audience.
Yes, Senator Chitlick, please only debate the bill, don't speak to the audience.
Okay, I don't think I need to debate the bill. I think that was all they needed to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Grafstein, for what purpose do you rise?
Madam President, just to ask that the words of Senator Garrett that were just...
Objection.
Sorry?
Objection.
I don't know who said that. I'm just asking that the words of Senator Garrett be spread upon the journal.
Senator Newton. For what purpose do you rise?
I object to the senator's request.
Point of order, Madam President. That's amazing. That's amazing.
All right, at this time, we're going to vote on the motion to spread the words upon the journal of Senator Garrett.
Madam President, is that a debatable motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Just briefly then, Madam President, what an outrage. You know, they say that the truth only hurts if it should. Senator Garrett spoke the truth. Those true words should be spread upon the journal. I urge you all, regardless of party, to show some respect for your colleagues, to show some respect for our state, for our country, for the freedom of speech. Show some respect. Let's spread these words on the journal.
All right, so the motion is to spread the words of Senator Garrett on the journal. All in favor of that, vote yes. All against it, vote no. You have 5 seconds. The clerk will record the vote. Having voted in the affirmative, 26 in the negative, the motion does not pass. Is there further discussion or debate? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is the passage of Senate Bill 249 on its third reading. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. 5 seconds will be allowed for voting, and the clerk will record the vote. Senator Meyer. Senator Meyer. Senator Meyer. 25, having voted in the affirmative. Senator Lee, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Madam President. I was thinking about the previous motion and not this bill. I changed my vote no to aye, please.
To an aye on the previous motion, or to on this bill?
Aye on this vote.
Aye on this bill, okay.
Madam President,
Senator Meyer?
may I be recorded as voting no?
You're no.
Thank you.
So Lee, is it yes? So is it right? Okay. 26 having voted in the affirmative, 20 in the negative. Senate Bill 249 passes its third reading and will be sent to the House. Senate Bill 777, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 777, General Assembly appointments.
Senator Daniel is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Bill 777 contains appointments for the President Pro Tem and the Speaker of the House. Specifically, it fills 2 vacancies on the College of the Albemarle Board of Trustees and 1 on the North Carolina Acupuncture Licensing Board. It makes an appointment to the Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf Board of Trustees, and there was 1 technical correction regarding the prior appointments bill. I ask for your support.
Is there further discussion or debate? Senator Batch, for what purpose do you rise?
To ask Senator Daniel a question.
Senator Daniel, do you yield?
Yes.
He yields.
Thank you. It appears that there are 3 appointments that were previously made that are now being removed. Can you tell us why 3 individuals that we've already appointed are being removed from those boards?
No, not without doing further research.
If we could take a moment, Madam President.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
If we could take a research so that Senator Daniel can research my question.
Senator Daniel, can you do that in a matter of a few minutes or?
Probably 5 minutes.
5
Madam
minutes?
President.
All right, we'll take 5 minutes.